What's up, everybody? Damon here, and in today's gaming news, the Perfect Dark reboot is still years away. Quitality's return to Mortal Kombat 1, and both Xbox and Nintendo have announced a couple unusual partnerships. This is your Daily Fix. Perfect Dark is one of my favorite games of all time, so I was super stoked when the reboot was announced back in 2020. But of course, nearly 3 years later, we're still waiting on the return of Joanna Dark, and it sounds like we still have years of waiting ahead of us. Now, this story is based on original reporting by IGN reporter Rebecca Valentine. At the time the teaser trailer for the Perfect Dark reboot was shown, which was created by an external CG house by the way, it was very obviously way far ahead of anywhere the game was at, according to one developer who was working at the initiative at the time. They added, "We hadn't even figured out any of our core game mechanics. We didn't even really know what type of game we were making." Unfortunately, according to conversations with 13 sources familiar with the game's development, little meaningful progress has been made on Perfect Dark since that 2020 trailer. While a new partnership with Crystal Dynamics appears to finally be bearing fruit, multiple sources who have worked on the game recently say that Perfect Dark is still in the earliest stages of development, estimating that it's still roughly 2 to 3 years away from being ready for release. One former initiative developer told us, "It was not that we didn't know what we wanted, it was that we kept making things that weren't what we wanted. We'd do it over and over again. The levels we had when I left weren't the same ones we'd had 3 months prior or 3 months prior to that. I don't know why people just kept hitting the reset button. That was definitely contributing to the feeling that we weren't making any progress. People kept starting over." In early 2021, Perfect Dark design director Drew Murray left the studio to return to his former employer, Insomniac. All our sources who were there at the time cited him as the first significant exit in what would become a veritable avalanche throughout 2021 that would nearly deplete the studio. A tally of those who list their work at the initiative on LinkedIn reveals 35 total departures in 2021 alone. The studio lost another 12 in the first 3 months of 2022, and LinkedIn numbers indicate the studio did not hire nearly as many new developers in the same period or even since. While these numbers are rough estimates, those who were there at the time suggest that roughly half the studio was gutted, with the total number of employees dipping down into the 30s at its lowest. Entire departments were hollowed out, and progress on Perfect Dark halted as people waited for key decision-making roles to be filled. One developer there at the time recalled literally doing almost nothing for 9 months. In 2022, nearly 4 years after the initiative was formed, Perfect Dark was essentially started over from scratch in Unreal 5. The studio had been working on Perfect Dark in some form since 2018, announced it in 2020, but in 2022 still didn't have much to show for itself. But today, Xbox's Matt Booty says the initiative and Crystal Dynamics have hit the rhythm on Perfect Dark, saying he had a full review of the game in May. It's still an FPS balancing combat and espionage with an emphasis on spy gadgets, some experimental movement tech, and a focus on narrative. Recent plans seem to be leaning towards some kind of episodic format, though the exact form and shape of it has yet to be determined and could still change entirely before release. So long story short, I'm not confident I'll ever get to play this game, which is a bummer. Moving on, Mortal Kombat 1 had an online stress test over the weekend, and it didn't take long for players to discover the return of the Quitality. A Quitality is a finishing move introduced to the series with 2015's Mortal Kombat 10. They only occur during an online match when a player leaves before the end of the winning round, so before the famous finish him or her prompt. In Mortal Kombat 10, a Quitality would see the offending player character's head explode in a shower of gore. In 11, the quitter would either end up impaled on a giant rock spike or explode. In Mortal Kombat 1, however, a Quitality comes with a twist of the player's neck. Rather than explode or fall on spikes, the fighter now breaks their own neck in a speedy and dramatic animation. This being an online stress test, there's little at stake when it comes to competitive Mortal Kombat 1, but that hasn't stopped players from rage quitting matches. Here's an example of how it looks when Kenshi quits. Mortal Kombat 1's online stress test ended today, June 26 at 8 a.m. Pacific. The reboot is set to be released on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, incredibly, and PC on September 19th. Microsoft has created a Barbie-themed Xbox Series S, the first ever Xbox Barbie dolls and Barbie cars for Forza Horzion 5. To promote the upcoming Barbie movie, Microsoft created a classic 1956 Chevrolet Corvette EV in signature Barbie pink and Ken's 2022 GMC Hummer EV pickup for Playgrounds Racer, both of which are free for all Forza Horizon 5 players starting today. Meanwhile, there are interchangeable Xbox wireless controller faceplates designed after Barbie and Ken's on-screen outfits. But the star of the show is the custom Xbox Series S built into an actual Barbie dreamhouse. This is a competition prize only that's up for grabs starting July 10th. Also a competition prize is a set of 10 Barbie dolls outfitted with Xbox gear fashion. The Barbie movie, which stars Margot Robbie as Barbie and Ryan Gosling as Ken, is out July 21st here in the US. And in other cross-branding news, Nintendo has teamed up with Oreo for limited edition Super Mario cookies. There are 16 different themed cookies based on Mario characters and power-ups. Notably missing, however, is Princess Peach. Oreo says that was on purpose, as she has once again been kidnapped by Bowser. I don't know, that seems like a pretty half-baked reason to omit one of the main characters. You can pre-order these cookies starting today. What a time to be alive. You just get your butt to oreo.com/supermario and order your own pack for $5 each. They'll start appearing on retailers nationwide on July 10th. And that is your Daily Fix for Monday, June 26th. Now that you're caught up on the news, check out our final preview of Pikmin 4. I'm Damon Hatfield, and for all your gaming news, stay tuned to IGN.